Have you ever tried to explain who you are? You realize that the person on the other side simply didn't want to understand, not because they lacked intelligence, but because understanding you would have required them to question something they'd rather not question. If you had, you probably grew up being told you were too sensitive, too complicated, too different, that you think too much, that you should be lighter, easier, more like everyone else. This video isn't going to tell you to change. It is going to help you understand why this pain has a name and why Jung said it is, in fact, the beginning of something. Before we go any further, let me tell you something. If you made it this far, this channel was made for you. This is a place where we dive into Jungian psychology, the philosophy of self-knowledge, everything that helps us understand why we acted the way we acted without judgment, without oversimplification. If you want to keep having this kind of conversation, the one that doesn't happen at the dinner table, but that you need to have subscribed to the channel, hit the bell, because the next video might be exactly what you need to hear right now. There is a huge difference between being difficult and being inconvenient. Difficult is about behavior. Inconvenient is about truth. In certain families, certain groups, certain cultures want to tolerate someone who speaks truth out loud, even if it is only through their own silence, through their own refusal to admire a photo. Jung spent decades studying why so many people seem to be born with an inner calling that conflicts with the world around them, not as pathology but as psychological destiny. Jung called the shadow everything that a person or an entire family cannot accept itself. And so it gets projected onto someone else. That someone, menchimis, is you. You may have grown up being called too sensitive, rebellious, selfish, crazy, too intense, and those labels say far more about what the group can stand to look at in itself than about who you actually are. The cruelty of this is that you internalize those labels. You spent years trying to fix parts of yourself that were never broken. You made yourself smaller. You went quiet. You tried to shrink. And the more you tried to fit, the more it hurt. Because the problem was never the size of who you are. The problem was the size of the space they gave you. Jung didn't romanticize pain, but he said there is a process which he called Individuation that begins precisely with this discomfort, with the feeling that you don't fit the mold. Every hero and every mythology begins separated from the group, not as punishment, as initiation. The question was never whether you were the problem. The question has always been, do you have the courage to be the answer? Before we continue, if you made it this far, you are not the kind of person who consumes shallow content. You want to understand, and that's exactly why this channel exists. Every week I bring videos like this one, about Jungian psychology, about what it means to become who you truly are, about the invisible patterns that keep us stuck and how to break free from them. If that resonates with you, subscribe. It is free. It might change the way you see yourself. But now I need to say something that might hurt you a different way. You can keep waiting for your family or your group to one day see you, one day understand, one day apologize. And maybe that will happen, but Jung would say, don't make their recognition a condition for your individuation. There is something in us that would rather endure the pain of belonging than face the freedom of separation, because separation feels like death, and belonging even when it hurts feels like life. But there is a difference between belonging to a group and being absorbed by one. Jung said that individuation requires you to become yourself without destroying the relationship, but also without sacrificing the self in order to save the relationship. Step you name each without blame. The first step is being able to name what happened to you without turning each into an accusation. Without dismissing each as a story that is already in the past. Both are ways of refusing to look each in the eye. Step 2 reclaim the exiled parts of yourself. Jung called it the integration of the shadow. The process of recognizing the parts of you that were rejected, asking, what if that too much sensitivity is actually emotional intelligence? What if that rebelliousness is actually integrity? Step 3 build a new tribe. You don't need to convince the people who rejected you that you were worth it. You need to find the ones who already know. Jung once wrote that the greatest tragedy is not suffering. It is suffering without meaning. What I hope you take away from this is not easy relief. It is something better, context. The possibility that what you've always called a flaw is, in fact, the beginning of who you can become. If you grew up as the black sheep, you probably learned very early how to survive without approval. That hurts, but it also gave you something rare. You know how to be yourself when one is applauding. And that is exactly what the world needs from you. If this video touched something you hadn't been able to name before, tell me in the comments. It doesn't have to be much. One sentence is enough to say, I feel this too. If you want to keep this conversation going about who you are, why you feel what you feel, and how to become more, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you don't miss the next videos. Because the next conversation we're going to have might be about something you've been carrying for a long time too. Thank you for staying. Until next time.